Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Beyond the Bell. It is Monday, April 15th, 2024. It is 60 seconds after the bell, which means it's time to go beyond the news, beyond the charts, beyond the bell, brought to you by our good friends over at the Blue Sky Trading Company for the clearest path to a live brokerage account, live trading with Mike every day in the Discord, and this phenomenal show. You have no reason to get your content or get your accounts anywhere else. What a day. It goes without saying, what a day. Hello, Mike. This is an interactive show. Make sure you give me some bells, give me some likes in the chat. What do the YouTubers say? Smash that like button, which sounds a little grotesque to me, but if you could just click on it, I'd appreciate that. Mike, nice to see you as always. SPX, Tio, Peter, Tyler, Drawdown King, always nice to see you guys. Wow, Drawdown out in the Amazon rainforest. My goodness, man, be careful. I think even the mosquitoes there are about like 6 to 8 inches long. Don't get bitten. TCGX, nice to see you. Anyway, guys, I've got about a 30-second story to tell you that's going to start the show off today. So back when I was in college, I had a good friend named Paul. Paul, A+ dude, really, really nice guy. Decent looking dude, great personality, right? In theory, should do very well in the dating pool. But Paul was a little shy, and that's okay. But very often, little hints, little flirtations at various times would go way over Paul's head. For example, I remember it was my junior year of college, and I was living on an off-campus apartment with my roommate, and we weren't like huge, like crazy partiers or anything like that, but just Friday or Saturday night, we were off campus, especially a dry campus. We like to have some people over and, play a little beer pong or whatever the kids play nowadays, right? Those darn college kids. But anyway, I remember a specific party, and there was a girl there who was talking with Paul off on the other side. I'm watching out of the corner of my eye, right? And she was sending out all the signals, right? Like she was being flirtatious with him, stuff. No, nobody crossed any boundaries, but it was nice. And after about 30 minutes, I noticed she kind of walked away looking a little bit frustrated. And so I walked over to Paul. I said, "Hey, man, what's going on?" It's like, "Oh, yeah, talking to so-and-so real nice." It's like, "Yeah, she like was kind of into you, right? Like you should have like at least, this was back before texting was a huge thing. Just to date myself a little bit. It's like, you should have gotten her number, man. Call her up, take her out to dinner or something like that." She's like, no, she, that way it wasn't like that. I was like, man, I'm just guessing here, but like, what do they say? The playing with the hair, touching the arm, all those kinds of things. I think you're both single. Take her. No, it wasn't like that. Well, long story short, of course, I find out a couple weeks later, it absolutely was like that, and he was just too scared to kind of go in any direction. Now, look, Paul's married with 3 kids today. He's doing really well. I have no idea what happened to that girl, but it was one of those moments where you're not processing the information seemingly in real time, right? Paul was not processing that this girl was being flirtatious with him, and him being a single guy, he could have asked her out to dinner or gotten her phone number or something like that. I feel like, to bring all this back to the whole purpose of the show, I feel like that's what happened with the markets today, right? What was the big story coming into today, right? Obviously, over the weekend, a couple, story of the last 5,000 years or so, a couple of Middle Eastern countries are skirmishing a little bit, right, with Iran and Israel. We don't need to recap the whole thing. As traders, we're not necessarily interested in what's going on so much as how it affects the markets. Plus, if we go into any kind of political discussion, I'm guaranteed to piss off at least half of you out there, right? So we'll just keep it, obviously, to the market. So, Iran attacked Israel, apparently very unsuccessfully, and now is Israel going to strike? Okay, whatever, right? But this was all known coming into today, and I've been following the news a little closer today than I have in the past just for that main reason. And I feel like the markets pulled a Paul today, right? Like they got all this information leading into today, and then they decided all of a sudden they're like, oh, okay. Oh, sell, right? I could have the stupid little Jim Cramer button over here and, but you understand, right? And so if we go to look at the big picture, and we're going to do what we don't normally do, which is start with the 5-minute chart. Okay. So here was our open, guys, right? Let's get my nice little white vertical line in here. So kind of much ado about nothing. Decent push down after being pretty green in the pre-market, right? Decent push down. VWAP holds. We bounce up to +1 standard deviation. Then we get back down here. At this point, with just this market data on the board, I personally was kind of expecting one of these kind of days, right? Where I assumed the market understood the information that was being given, but that it wasn't quite processing it yet and was probably just waiting, again, another day. Obviously, one of I mean, there's no upside to any international conflict, but one of the downsides of this particular conflict, or upsides, I guess, depending on how you're looking at it, it's on the other side of the world, right? So most of us are going to wake up to news, right? Most of us are going to wake up to whatever happened overnight, unless we're an insomniac or we, you understand. So at this point, though, right here at about 11:15 Central, the markets just began to dump. Okay. Now we got down here, we rallied. Actually, I didn't make a long trade at this point, but I was eyeing up for a move back to the -1 standard deviation. And then right here, starting really with this candle, about an hour after this initial move, the bottom effing dropped. Just pull the trap door, just complete and utter intraday collapse. Now, I understand people are going to use the C word, crash, etc. And actually, it kind of was a little bit. I mean, we're finishing 1.75% down. Anytime you get anywhere near a 2% day in the markets, that's a healthy move. And we did flirt with new lows again as we moved into the last hour of the day. So what does that look like on the 4-hour? Well, guys, I deleted all my previous zones today because we're now so far off this area, right? This 18,300 area, if I squish the chart together, again, has not necessarily acted as moment-to-moment or day-to-day support or resistance, but it's acted as a strong sort of pin, right? That's the spot gamma refers to that as pinning action, right? And the analogy, to keep it going with the interactions that I discussed earlier, the analogy that I made earlier today with my community was, it's like the market action was, like a dude with really low self-esteem, and 18,300 was like that toxic ex that he keeps going back to, right? Because no matter how far away or how much success he seems to always keep coming back to that level. Well, now we are as far away from that level as we have been in quite some time. All right, so not only did we break strongly off of the 18,300 level, but we pushed down. I was ready, guys, for a bounce at about 18,100, right? And I thought we would start to get that. Thankfully, I did. Again, a trade is where a thesis meets a setup. I had a thesis. I did not have a setup, therefore no trade. Okay, and so at this point, not only did we give out 18,100, we didn't even really pause. Again, look at this, guys. 18,000. You see this a little better on. I would have expected at least a pause or some profit taking in this area, right? Like I would have expected to come down here, maybe bounce up to the -1 standard deviation, and then, kind of, again, the little bit of that inverse cup with handle pattern, right? We didn't even pause. We just went shoop right through it. And not until we really got below 17,000, or really got towards 17,900, did we even begin to consolidate, and there was really no rally after that. So it's going to be interesting to see. So we are down, hold on, we are below 18,000, guys, for the first time since the beginning of March. So we're talking, about 4 or 5 weeks. All right, and that's not a huge long time in the markets, but when we're looking at things at a 4-hour chart, that's a pretty long time. So stop me if you've heard this one before. We just have to wait to see what happens overnight, to see if there's any escalation in the hostilities overseas. This is becoming now a very macro market, right? A very fundamental market. We're still going to pay attention to the technicals, but again, I think it's going to take a few days, at least 2 or 3, before the markets to, again, wait out whatever's going on. Like, when we go to bed tonight, what's Israel gonna do to, when and if they respond? I think as a lot of people anticipate that they will. And what's the response to that? Now, I was telling someone earlier today, just a buddy of mine who's not really into trading. And I was saying, hey, it's Kiki. You passed your evaluation today. Congratulations. So, it's always worthy to celebrate. Now, you go onto your Blue Live. You still got some work to do, but I just want to say congratulations. That's important. Anytime you pass an eval, or especially if you get it into the live brokerage, guys, make sure you shout it out on the show, and I will be happy to point that out. But it's a nice, I'm not, there's the old mantra, celebrate rarely, grind daily. I'm not the rise and grind type, guys. I enjoy what I do, but I try to be done with everything by like 5:30. I got a couple of things and a couple of client stuff to do after today, or after this show. And then I like to sit down and start 90 minutes before the market and be done at least 90 minutes by they're done. That's a long day, right? Especially when you do it 5 days a week. But still, I these guys are 12, 14-hour days, sleep for 2 hours. Miss me with that crap. If I wanted to do that, I would have stayed in other lines of work. I did trading, so I would have a lot of freedom and flexibility, right? But yes, it is important to acknowledge these small goals en route to the big goals. So congratulations, Kiki. Wish you the best. Keep us informed, and yeah, keep at it. Okay, so. Very, very important to just understand kind of, again, the macro, the fundamental, and where we are. And in this particular instance, we just got to kind of wait it out. Now, it doesn't mean we can't trade in the meantime. It just means we've got to be very cautious, okay? If you're somebody who has a history of chasing or FOMO or things like that, I would highly consider reducing your position size just a little bit, right? So if you're somebody who normally trades, let's say 15 micros, maybe bring it down to 10 to 12. Right? So maybe 25 to 30% of your position size, just reduce it because, again, the moves are bigger, right? Let's see, what was our ATR for most of the day? Our ATR was, we were mid-30s on the ATR today, which is a pretty good number, right? That means we're getting some pretty good movement. So definitely something to keep an eye on as we go forward. As far as the ES, the big old S&P, same thing, right? We had been using 5,200 as sort of that had acted a little bit of support here, right? So basically we were talking about this being a double bottom, and we did actually crack through that here and then immediately ran back up. And then, of course, today, boom, just ugly. So we're sitting here at 5,100. Any 100 level, these roundy levels on the ES are very, very important. They're important on the NQ, the 100-point levels. Very important on the ES, obviously, because they represent a larger chunk of the overall markets and overall index. So, guys, I do want to say, just before we move any further in the show, Blue Sky does have excuse me. So a lot of times I have this plan during the day, and sorry, my audio cut out there briefly. So for today, I wanted to kind of do something a little different for this lesson of the day because I had a kind of a moment this morning. If you're unfamiliar with our Discord, guys, Blue Sky's president Mike trades in there every day. And guys, regardless, there's a lot of live trading out there. Some of it may be your style, some of it may not be. But I highly encourage you to check it out in the morning. Really good information. Mike talks through the markets, talks through some of his trades. Very, very good to check that out. And so I usually I'm doing my trading in the morning. So I'll usually just catch up on the chat later in the day. But I popped in there briefly. And he did bring something up that I want to expand upon a little in this show. 'Cause I've run live trading rooms in the past, and occasionally, you're trying to get through something, and then a trade comes up, and it can be difficult to teach in those things. Mike does a great job with it. Again, I highly encourage you to check that out. But I wanted to take something he said this morning. I wanted to expand on it a little bit. Long story short, Mike was talking about expectations in your trading, right? And what are realistic expectations? What should you be shooting for? Listen, guys, we're all in this to make a lot of money, right? I'll even use the dreaded M word. We're all in this to make $1 million or more, or millions, right? If you're not in this game to maximize your profits long term, I don't even know what to tell you. However, when you're getting going, and especially, guys, you should be shooting for 20, 30, 40-year trading careers, okay? I can tell you from experience, the first 5 years of your trading career is a whole lot of learning, okay? That doesn't mean you can't make some money. I was making money by year 4 and 5, right? I was making money by year 3, but decent money by year 4 and 5, right? But that I look back at that whole first 5 years of my trading career and I realized, okay, boy, I was still, even as I was entering my 5th year of trading, I was still what I would consider a beginning trader, right? So I've had clients before, if I, ask them, I've been trading for a year. Okay, so you're still kind of, I'm not a beginner. Well, you've been trading for a year and you're not consistently profitable. That, I don't use that as a pejorative term or to insult anybody, right? But I do use that as factual, right? I don't consider myself an expert trader right now. If you ask me, what do I classify myself as? I would say intermediate. Okay, I make pretty consistent money. Occasionally still make a mistake or two, nothing serious, but I'm not, I'm not where I want to be long term, right? I want to be eventually making a lot, possibly even 6 figures per month is where I would like to eventually end up. That's years down the line. But everybody gets this in their head that it's like, all right, and especially if you have your first green day, right? Maybe you make $300-400. Oh, I'm going to be making $2 or $3 grand a day very soon, right? Okay, let's back that up a little bit. And one of the points Mike made, and I've used this analogy as well. The phrase I heard many years ago that is stuck with me is that, and I put this in the chat there, 1K a day keeps the job away, right? And even, let's say $500. Okay, really think about this, right? There's something I like to refer to as the trader's paradox, okay? So it's this. It's very simply this. If you, right now, all of you here, let's say the show ends, it's a nice day outside, and I actually may do this as well. Depends on what time my dog gets home from doggy daycare. But I sometimes like to take a walk, clear my head. Around the block of my house is like just over a mile, so it's like a perfect, just light. I'm not jogging, I'm not even power walking, just a nice light walk. Usually I'll turn my phone ringer off, just kind of, sometimes I'll bring headphones, just a little time, it takes usually anywhere from 12 to 17 minutes, depending on how fast I'm walking to go around there, right? So it's just the opportunity to just kind of unwind a little bit, especially when the weather's nice. If you were doing that afterwards, right? So you leave your house, you go a few houses down, and you find a $100 bill on the ground, okay? Nobody's around, it's not in anybody's yard, it's there, in the middle of the street, nobody's around. So your money, right? You pick it up. That's like really cool, right? Like that's a really cool feeling. Hey, $100 for nothing. Yet you could be in a trade and see $100 of profit on the screen. And, that's nothing. I need 1,000 on this trade, right? That's the trader's paradox. And and when you really think about it, the more true it becomes. So the whole point of this was, especially if you're a newer trader, shooting for average profits. Obviously, you're not going to hit this every single day, but shooting for average profits around $500, maybe even $600 per day is going to set you up with a whole different lifestyle if you're really ready for it, right? If you're not coming from a $1 million lifestyle already or from family money, etc. Think about this, okay? Let's go up to $1,000 a day. Let's say you can just make $1,000 a day, and let's say you trade. Obviously there's not 365 trading days per year. That's, I think, just under 300 when you figure it. But let's say you trade 250 days a week or days a year. So before taxes, capital gains, future, all that kind of stuff, it's $250,000. And let's even go down to 125, which was $500 a day. Guys, really, really think about it. Don't worry about these abstract numbers on a screen, okay? Or these, like, the concept of all this money. Ask yourself right now, how big of a difference would $2,500 a week mean to you? Because again, we get these, and guys, I'm in the trading education business. On behalf of our trading education, the whole trading education business, I will take responsibility for this garbage. I don't personally do this, but all these emails, how I made $10,000 in 1 hour this morning, right? Or my favorite one, the guy still brags about the trade 7 years from now, how I made $3 million on this one trade or what. Okay, fine. Great. But that creates very unrealistic expectations. Anybody that's done, if you've even traded for a month, you know how hard it is, let alone 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years. Okay. It's going to take you at least 3 to 4 years where you have you even begin to feel like you know what's going on, and that again, doesn't mean you can't make some money in the meantime. I wish you will, or I wish that for you. Okay. But yeah, guys, just think about, $200 a day. That's a great place to start, Dragon. So I do appreciate that. But for me, if I'm talking to a brand new client, that's what I'm going to tell them. Let's get you to the point where you're making about $500 per day on average. Now, one day you may make $750, one day you may make $200, then you make $500, then you lose $300, right? That's, again, you're going to be a little bit of a yo-yo trader when you first start. Everybody is. And then it's just a matter of tweaking the wins to be a little bigger, tweaking the losses to be a little smaller, and building from there. Okay? So, that's great, Dragon. We're rooting for you, man. Let us know how we can help. Yeah, $200 a day SPX is great. But don't be happy with that. Don't be satisfied with it, right? It's okay to say, gosh, I made $2,000 this week. I'm going to withdraw that. I gotta pay this. I gotta pay that. I'm going to take my significant other out, or kids out, or whatever, to a really nice dinner. It's going to be great. Put a little in savings. Be happy, but don't be satisfied. Keep building that, right? All it takes, guys, if you can find one single strategy, okay, that makes you, on average, $500 per week. Forget about a day. $100 a day. Let's say you have a strategy with 5 micros. With 5 micros, trading only 5 micros, you make $500 a week. Okay? And you do that for many, many weeks. Then you go to 8 micros. Then you go to 10. Next thing you know, you're up to 3 minis or 4 minis, and that $500 a week is now $2,000 to $3,000 to $4,000 per week. Find one strategy that'll make you $100 a day with 5 micros and scale it. And guys, that's all you need to do. Yes, it's nice to have other strategies and all that kind of stuff, but that's all you really need to do. Find one strategy that with 5 micros makes you $100 a day, and just scale it. Scale it over, don't go from 5 micros to 3 minis in 2 weeks. Don't do that garbage. It's going to take you 3 months, 6 months, sometimes even a year to scale up that high. But in the meantime, you're making a little money, you're building your account, you're going from there. Okay? Hi, Matt. How do you juggle multiple accounts with a small daily goal, or is it one live account enough? Right, I trade 95% of my trades are in my one main brokerage account. I do have a small secondary one, and then I have just my IRAs that I do stuff in, mostly options, selling credit and stuff like that. But that's not really what we're doing on a day trading show today. But it's for me, just honestly, if you're new, just build towards the brokerage. Because here at Blue Sky, they put you in a live brokerage account. Build towards that. And then just your first day in brokerage, guys, don't try to make $5,000 to withdraw. Try to make $200. And then the next day, make $250, right? And just build a little cushion. Guys, I never begrudge anybody paying themselves and taking some money out when you can. Me personally, I would build about a $5,000 cushion in a brokerage before I tried to withdraw from anything, okay? So we've covered a lot today, and the markets have been kind of crazy. So let's see. I got a couple more questions I want to get to. Overtraded and lost 2 accounts. Traded 200 contacts today. How to stop overtrading? So that's a good question, Rich. So again, first of all, be very careful overtrading. And guys, be very careful overtrading on a day like today. Rich, I'm guessing you kept trying to catch the bottom. Were you trying to catch a falling knife today? Because that can do it. Very few short trades should have lost money today, especially if they were any time after about noon Eastern. But if you were sitting there, we really don't have time to get through, have you communicate your strategies and us try to break them down. Yeah, Dragon's right. You've got to set some daily goals and some daily stop losses, right? So, for example, I'm just throwing this out there as an example. I'm not saying you have to do this or you have to do bigger, smaller, whatever. A lot of newer traders will say, when I make $500, I'm done live trading for the day, or eval trading. Now, you don't stop at that point. You just move into sim trading. Keep getting your reps, keep trading your setups, treat them like real trades. But I've got $500 profit. Boom, I'm locking that in. Similarly, if you get to, let's say, $300 loss on the day, so at any point you're showing negative $300, boom, lock out the account for the day. I'm done. So even if you just alternate days, you're still making money, right? If you plus 500 minus 300 plus 500 minus 300, you're sitting there 400 up, at the end of the week, right? Or near the end of the week. So that's one way to start. But you got to trust yourself, and you got to, be responsible with that. Ultimately, there's nobody in this business that can hold you accountable, more accountable than yourself. So yeah, just how to stop over trading. Just stop over trading. I know that sounds simplistic, and I could do, and maybe I will do at some point, a whole show on that, but understand the emotions behind that. A lot of over trading has to do with fear of missing out, which is something I'm very familiar with, right? FOMO trading or chasing. So in that situation, I would recommend setting a specific profit goal and stop loss. Make sure the profit goal is bigger than the stop loss. So like I said, 500, 300 is a great place to start. And you hit one of those, you're done live trading for the day, and you move to sim for the rest of the day. All right. That's about as good advice as I can give you in about 2 or 3 minutes, but maybe just kind of sit down and really examine the fear and the greed that are playing roles in that, because those are the two emotions that will kill any trader. I don't care how long they've been doing it. Matt, do you play different strategies on range days versus directional days? So actually, Mike, I have what's called the 80-20 theory in the markets. I've talked a little bit about that on the show, and I'm actually going to do I'll let you guys know on my website, I'm going to do a webinar on it in about 2 or 3 weeks. So it's basically 80% of trading days go a certain way and 20% go the other ones, right? So 80% the markets move a certain amount. Maybe they stay within 0.75% up or down. You get some nice movements. You get some sideways days. And then there's 20% days where either the markets do next to nothing, which we saw about 3 weeks ago, right? Almost an entire week leading into Easter. In those 4 days before Good Friday, there was almost no movement. Those were 20% days. Today was a 20% day because we had basically almost a 2% down day, right? So I want to make sure I'm making my money on 80% days. My strategies are designed for 80% days. So on a day like today, I'm just simply not going to trade that much. Now, I had a couple of, I actually ended up right on the day. So I will fully cop to that. I hold you guys accountable. You can hold me accountable as well. Thankfully, just a few $100, so nothing serious. But my strategies are designed for 80% days. So that's it. So I don't get mad about losing on days like today. Now, if tomorrow is an 80% day and I lose, that'll make me a little upset, right? Okay. Well, guys, I think we're kind of coming to a wrap. Many people, Ravi says, many people caught the falling knife and got hurt today. What's a good setup to trade a day like today? Again, guys, don't spend... I spend 90% of my strategy development time building strategies for the 80% days, if that makes sense, right? Why are you building strategies for days when the markets are just insane like this, right? Because it doesn't happen that often. It only happens, like I said, 20%. So 1 out of every 5 days, and whether it's, again, I learned the rules, the 75-20% rule. I like 80-20. And it really doesn't matter if it's 80-20, 90-10, 70, whatever the case may be, right? The majority of the days go a certain way, and your strategies, your systems, your style should be designed for those days. Nobody can design a strategy to catch a 200-point move in the NQ because it just doesn't happen that often. You can work on that strategy for 5 years, and you're still going to end up with a small sample size of trades. I need at least 500 trades in a system before I even know if I'm going to put real money into it. Right, and if I need 500 trades in something and the system only produces 2 trades a week, I got a long time to wait until I have the data that I need. I basically need several years of data. Whereas, if I design a system for the 80% days, I can get that data in 3 or 4 months. Okay, so don't worry about you guys. Oh, I missed a 300-point move in the markets today. Well, if you had a setup and you missed it, then you should be a little hard on yourself. But if you didn't have a setup, we never buy just because we think the market's going to go up. We never sell when we think the market's going to go down. We have a system. We have a trade is where a thesis meets a setup. I had a thesis the market was going to roll all day. And when it finally did, I waited for a setup. Never got one. So I didn't trade, at least in the afternoon. Okay? All right, lot to digest today, guys. So I wish you guys a great rest of your day. We are just getting started this week. It is going to be a fun week here at Blue Sky. Stay tuned, guys. You never know when our next giveaway is going to be or flash sale or anything like that. And obviously, like I said, really shoot for those, try to get up to, that's my challenge for all of you, to try to get up to be a $500 day trader on average by the end of calendar 2024. And if you keep watching the show, keep going to the live trading with Mike in the morning, we'll do everything we can to help get you there. Have a great rest of your day, everyone. I'll see you tomorrow for another edition of Beyond the Bell. Good night.